The fires tearing through Northern California refuse to surrender. Walls of fast-moving flames being pushed by a resurgence of windy weather.
When Mother Nature puts topography and humidity and wind together just right, there's nobody that's going to stop it.
A huge area of the state is now in flames. The Thomas Fire is now the largest in state history.
The state of the fuels and the winds pushing the fire really just turned this into a monster.
The death toll has risen in the California mudslides. Intense rain led to the new disaster in a region already hard hit by weeks of wildfires.
We saw a 25-foot creek, and there was about a 25 to 50-foot mud line. So there was about 75 feet of mud.
We've got a fire coming over the hill. From the Napa side, I think. I can smell smoke. The neighbors are all...
On Sunday, October 8th, I was on duty on Engine Company 10, my regular assignment, and we were shipped out to the Sonoma Valley. It wasn't until about 4 in the morning when we ran into a strike team that was joining us in Sonoma Valley where we even found out what was happening in the city.
Hi, Fire and Medical Dispatch.
I think east Guilford towards town, and there's this wall of flames. I can physically see flames.
We have 9 different vegetation fires in our county right now.
It was like, you know, we've got massive fires and houses lost in Napa and Sonoma and Healdsburg and Santa Rosa. And I mean, the list just kept going. It was like, wow, is this really happening?
Everyone was firefighting, everyone was at work. So all my members of my executive board, all my team that I rely on to do union business, they were all out on the fire line.
Tim said that he was going to be getting relieved from the line. He said, hey, let's meet over at Local 1401's headquarters. He gave me the door code here. I let myself in the building, and we just dug in.
And our number one priority was locating our members and their families that had been evacuated or lost their homes.
I was off duty. I was actually in San Luis Obispo, and I got a call from one of my off-duty firefighters asking if I could go up and check his house. I didn't think anything of it until my wife calls and says, I see fire moving down the canyon. Embers are starting to blow around the house. We're gonna leave. Pulled up 101 and kind of started entering Santa Rosa area, and it was something I'll never forget. I mean, my home was on fire. Santa Rosa was on fire.
I left around 9 o'clock, didn't smell smoke. Everything seemed fine. About 12:20, my neighbor called me and said they were being mandatorily evacuated. As I was driving back, came into my court. I live in a 195-unit subdivision, and it looked like all 195 homes had burned to the ground.
This is my neighbor's house right here. This was my house right here.
We knew that we had families that had nothing, you know, the clothes that they walked out of their houses with. And it was getting the IFF in with their disaster relief program. It was getting the foundation in with the SAVE program. It was interfacing with the Red Cross and the incident to make sure that no one was in need.
We asked that CPF put out a leadership alert immediately, asking for any locals that knew of members that had lost houses. Once that leadership alert went out, also all the locals that saw that immediately started offering assistance.
We had over 15 individual locals that sent members to our union hall to volunteer, and on any given day we had at least 25 people that were being dispatched out of our union hall to go and do work supporting members, community, and the incident.
So I showed up at the union office, and I was shocked. There was a whole command center there. And it wasn't a command center to run the incident. It was a command center to support firefighters that needed help.
A person would come in and they'd go through the pipeline. We'd give them the financial help. We'd make sure they understood their disaster registration. They'd meet with the peer support people. They'd meet with the attorneys. We'd go over the insurance stuff.
At every stop, they were trying to find out what I needed, what they could do, how they could help me, and then just walked out of there and said, okay, man, I got a bunch of people that have my back.
The connections through the CPF and the IFF and all the work that we do, it mattered to have the governor and his wife, both U.S. senators from California, Senator Feinstein and Senator Harris, all together sitting in our union hall, asking us what's happening in our community was huge. When firefighters were in need, they showed up.
Engine 20, the location in the call slip, house surrounded by fire.
However, the fire is very active, may be dangerous for apparatus.
Shortly after the Thomas fire started, I arrived at the station right about the same time as my battalion chief. We got into a spare command vehicle and went to work. This fire started north of the city of Santa Paula. In 1993, we had a similar fire start there under similar circumstances. The 1993 Steckel fire made it to Ventura in about 5 or 6 days. This time it made it to Ventura in 5 hours.
There's now at about 8 to 10,000 acres, still being pushed by 50 to 60 mile an hour strong northeast winds. Potential impact to the city of Ventura within 2 hours. IC copy.
We were requested to move actually up into this area, the Ondulando area of Ventura. I ended up going and pulling a line off of another engine that had shown up, putting out palm trees and putting out fences. We were getting 50, 60-foot flame lengths off of 3-foot high shrubs. I ended up having my hose line overwhelmed by the fire, and this was a hose line that was being pumped by a fire engine on a fire hydrant. It's not very common to have a wildland fire where it's overwhelming a straight stream out of an 1 3/4 hose line.
The Thomas fire has claimed 2 lives, including 32-year-old firefighter Corey Iverson. Firefighters and other mourners honored Iverson Sunday by lining the streets for his funeral procession. He's survived by his pregnant wife and 2-year-old daughter.
My sweet husband left this earth not just a hero, but in my eyes, he left us as a superhero. I don't think I need to state the obvious of who Corey was or what he did to impact our lives, but I will say that he provided me with the greatest gift of all, love.
Once we were able to determine that we did have people who had lost homes or had damage, we wanted to make sure that their families were taken care of first and foremost, and any way we could assist with alternate housing, really anything they needed. We brought in some of our retired members who were willing to come in and help out. We were able to get a Save Card distribution program going and to really just make sure that their basic needs were taken care of. Ended up on the fire for about 21 days. It was an all-hands-on-deck incident for the better part of 4 or 5 weeks, and then we had a week or 2 break, and then the mudslide happened in Montecito.
Montecito Fire, this is Jennifer.
Jennifer, I'm trying to get my wife and daughter evacuated. They are stuck at East Valley Road.
Are they safe where they are?
I don't know that they're safe.
I responded to Montecito as the rescue manager for RTF 12. After we spent the day driving around, surveying the area and pre-planning, we all were left and relieved to go bed down. About 3:30 in the morning, one of the chiefs turned all the lights on and advised us that there had been an explosion and some houses had collapsed. Then we were sent to Olive Mill Road, and our task was to navigate the high-profile vehicles from the National Guard to the locations where victims needed to be transported. And as we made our first right turn from Olive Mill Lane onto Olive Mill Road, we encountered massive destruction. We had power lines down, power poles down. There was several vehicles pushed into homes, mud everywhere, trees were down. The flow had pretty much subsided. However, the depth ranged from knee to waist to chest deep. We saw people flashing lights at us, so we instantaneously started helping those people. We estimate we contacted about 850 people as a team, and our Santa Maria unit probably pulled out about 150 in our stake site alone. We were there for a total of 13 days. Every day we would leave the area at evening time because it would be very difficult to conduct the searches, being that there's so many hazards out there. We had a few close calls. We had one hot stick for the 6 of us, so we were navigating around some lines that we weren't exactly sure if they were degenerized or not. We knew there were still individuals missing, and we needed to find those individuals. As we transitioned to search and recovery, trying to find people that were missing, that was tough. 2 hours into our start of our shift, with the help of search dogs, we did find one of the 3 that we were trying to find. We found that individual with debris covering the body.
If there's a positive thing that came out of this as a union leader, it's that it made very clear to our members and our families how everything is connected.
Our local 1775, the Marin local, and then the 1401 local here in Santa Rosa, the surrounding unions, and they just work seamlessly together for one goal, and that was to support all of us in our time of need.
They weren't doing this because it was in their labor contract. They weren't doing this because it was in their MOU. They were doing this because they wanted to help their brothers and sisters.
When you have an incident like this, where you're seeing union leaders on an engine rather than sitting in a boardroom, that's when you really have the understanding that we are all firefighters first, we are all union members second, and we take care of our communities and we take care of each other.
It's not just about one individual or the executive board, it's the community, it's everybody. We're in it together, and it's all for the greater good for our membership and for the communities that we serve.
The union really is all of us.